Namaste everybody. In my previous video I explained chapter 4 and today I am going to explain the chapter 5, The Happy Prince, written by Oscar Wilde. So before coming to this story, let us discuss the title, The Happy Prince. The present story is about a happy prince. When the happy prince was alive, he was very happy and cheerful because he used to live in a palace and he had never seen sorrow and misery in his life. But when he died, a big statue was erected and he could see the entire city, and in that time he saw the misery and sadness of the people, and he became very sad to see all these things. Now let us come to the story. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of the happy prince. He was gilded all over with thin lips of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. So first of all, let us discuss the difficult words of the very first paragraph. Here column means a tall vertical post made of a stone. Gilded means covered with gold. And sapphires here, precious stones that are blue in color. And here also red ruby is also a red precious stone. And glowed means shining, brightening. And hilt means here the handle of a weapon. So here there was a statue of happy prince on a tall vertical post, and that post column was made of stone, and the statue was covered with thin lips of gold. And four eyes, it means for the statue, the eyes had two bright sapphires, the blue stones. The eyes were made of two blue stones that are very precious, and a large red ruby, and a red ruby stone that was glowing in the handle of the sword. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. Swallow is a bird. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. One night what happened? A swallow flew over the city because the friends of swallow is a bird, had gone to Egypt 6 weeks before. Here Egypt is a country in Africa, and that is situated in northern part of Africa. But he had stayed behind. But the swallow was left behind, and he decided to go to Egypt too. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. So the whole day the swallow was flying, and at night he arrived at the city of a happy prince. Where shall I put up? He said. I hope the town has made preparation. So here the swallow, the bird, is a little bit humorous, he was talking about the preparation of the that city, the city of Happy Prince. He thought himself that where should I sit, and he hoped that the town has made preparation for him. It means the town was ready for him. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. When the swallow reached the town of Happy Prince, he saw a tall column, and he thought himself that I will put up there. He cried, "It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air." So he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. Here, alighted means flew down and sat. So here, uh, the bird swallow thought in his mind that this statue is a fine place for me because I would get plenty of fresh air. So, what he did, he flew down and sat between the feet of the Happy Prince, between the statue uh, of Happy Prince. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked round, and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing! Here, curious means strange, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky, the stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. So, here, when the swallow sat between the feet of the Happy Prince, he thought that he had golden bedroom. He said to himself very softly when he looked around, and he prepared to go to sleep. It means he was about to sleep, but just then what had happened? When he was putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. He thought, what a strange things, he cried. He thought in his mind that there is not a single cloud in the sky, and the stars are also quite clear, and the stars are brightening, and yet it is raining. So the swallow was surprised. Then another drop fell. Then another drop of water fell on the body of swallow. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. Then swallow told to himself that it is not suitable for us to sit under the statue because it cannot keep the rain off. It cannot save me from the rain. So I must look for a good chimney pot. Here, chimney pot means a pipe is set in the kitchen, and from that pipe the smoke comes out. So he thought that I must look for a good chimney pot, and he determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. What did he see? When the third drop of water fell on his body, he looked around, and he said, what did he see? It means he was surprised. The swallow was surprised to see the statue that the eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears. It means the statue was weeping, and tears were running down his golden cheeks because the statue was made of gold. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. Now, when the swallow saw the face of the statue of the Happy Prince, The swallow felt pity for the statue because the face of the statue was very beautiful and it was shining in the moonlight. Then the swallow asked, "Who are you?" He said. The statue replied, "I am the happy prince." Then the swallow asked, "Why are you weeping then?" Asked the swallow. "You have quite drenched me." Here, drenched means uh, made wet, to soak with water. So here the swallow told to the happy prince that you have made me wet. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue, I did not know what tears were. For I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. My courtiers means minister, called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was. So I lived and so I died. And now I am dead. They have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city, and though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. Now, here the happy prince, now he is dead, and the statue of happy prince is telling his story to the world when he was alive. The statue said that when I was alive and I had a human heart, I did not know what tears were there, because the happy prince, when he was alive, he lived in the palace, and in his palace sorrow was not allowed to enter, and all the minister called him the happy prince because he was very happy, and he lived happily and he died happily also. And now the further the happy prince was telling that he was dead, the courtiers have had set him up here so high that the happy prince can see the ugliness. Here, ugliness means evils of his town, of his city. And the people are suffering due to lack of money, and they are hungry also. And misery means here sorrow, because the people are living in misery in that city, and thought my heart is made of lead. Here the happy prince is telling that my heart is made of lead. Lead means metal, and there is no emotion in my heart, yet I can't do anything except weeping. That is why the happy prince was weeping, and he was telling his story to the little swallow. "What, is he not solid gold?" said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remark. But here the swallow talked to himself and thought, "What, is he not solid gold?" It means, is that a statue not made of solid gold? And at that time, because the happy prince was weeping, so here the swallow thought in his mind that this is not the suitable time to make personal remarks. He said, "Far away," continued the statue in a low musical voice. "Far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the window is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has a coarse red hands, all pricked by needles, for she is a seamstress. She is embroidering flowers on a certain gown for the loveliest of the queen maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water, so he is crying, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move." Now the happy prince, because now uh, the happy prince is the statue, and he is watching all the activities of the people in his city, and he is telling uh, to the little swallow that far away, far away, uh, in a little street there is a poor house. It means the statue of happy prince started telling in a musical voice uh, to the swallow what he is watching in his city. So he said that far away, uh, in a little street there is a poor house, and one of the window of that poor house is open, and through it means through that window can see a woman seated at a table. I can see a woman who is sitting on the table, and her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse. Here, coarse means tough. So he could see the tough face, thin face of that poor woman, and red hands, all pricked by the needles. So here, pricked means hurt. Her hands were red because it was hurted by the needles, because she is a seamstress. Seamstress means a woman tailor. She is embroidering flowers on a certain gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. And what is, that tailor was doing? She was weaving, or she was making a flower on a certain gown. Gown is a dress for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. Ball means dance. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. So the little boy of that lady tailor was ill, and he was lying in a corner, and he was asking him for oranges. His mother has nothing to give uh, him but river water. Only river water was there in her house, and in that house there were no fruits. So he is crying. That is why the little boy was crying. So here the happy prince is telling to the swallow that, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt?" It means you cannot take out the ruby, a stone that is very precious, from the handle of the sword for her. My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. The happy prince is telling that my feet are tied to this column or pedestal and I cannot move. So, will you take the ruby stone from my uh, hilt of the sword and give to that woman? Today, I have discussed some of the paragraphs. I hope you all will understand this story. In the next class or next video, I will explain the next paragraph. So, thank you.